Enchanted Tiki Talk is brought to you by Kingdom Strollers. Our premium stroller and crib rentals are delivered straight to your Disney or Orlando area resort. It couldn't be easier. Book yours at kingdomstrollers.com. And Mouse Pros. Let our travel specialists plan your next vacation. Our concierge level service gives you the perfect hassle-free vacation. Get your free quote from Sean or any of our magical agents at mousepros.com. And Mickey Monthly, the Disney fans' monthly subscription box that brings the magic right to your door. Visit them at mickeymonthly.com. And now, it's show time!
In the tiki 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 hut, in the tiki 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 hut, all the birds talk Disney and the listeners swoon. In the tiki 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 hut, welcome to our enchanted hideaway, you lucky people, you. If you weren't listening starting right away, we'd be out of an audience too. In the tiki 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 hut, in the tiki 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 hut, in the tiki 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 hut, in the tiki 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 hut.
Hello and welcome to Enchanted Tiki Talk. This is episode 252 for the week of August 26, 2018. So in the nearly 5 years of Enchanted Tiki Talk, we've had the pleasure of talking with Imagineers, musicians, actors, and now someone who knows his way around a canvas. Our guest tonight is Disney master artist, and for those not in the Disney circle, you know, they might know him from his artwork for The Evil Genius on Netflix, or some of the artwork for the NFL and the Major League Baseball and for Topps baseball cards. But for us Disney folks, you can see his art in and around the parks in Walt Disney World. So I'd like to welcome Kevin John to the Tiki Hut. Kevin John, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. It is a wonderful place to be here in the Tiki Hut today. I have a special place in my heart for all things Tiki. So the place looks great, and thanks for having me in, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Can't go wrong with Tiki, right?
No, I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I'm being completely sincere. There's about a dozen, maybe a little bit less than that, podcasts that I listen to, and you guys are one on the regular for me. So you guys do a great job, and
I appreciate that.
Honored to be talking with you guys today. This is very cool.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. One of the things I wanted to get talking about right away, is just because it's really interesting to me, is the Feed the Birds charity that you do. Yes.
And
the reason I want to talk about that was that I'm well aware of what that is, because a friend of mine, I don't know, a couple of years ago had brought that to my attention, and it wasn't even through you. And he said to me, he was telling me about it, and it was really interesting to me because I love parrots, and when you're devoting so much of your time in your life to a charity out there to take care of animals, I think that's a pretty important thing in this world. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Feed the Birds is for that group over there?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to talk about this. And I'll make it brief for you. I've had a long 31-year career now as a professional artist, and I started my senior year in high school, and almost immediately after I started selling my work professionally, I had a charity come to me and ask if I would donate some artwork to this event that they were having, and to help them raise money. And I'm a senior in high school at this time, and don't have a lot of experience, with this type of thing. So I went to my art teacher at the time, who I owe my entire career to, and she was always great with advice, and I said to her, hey, Ms. Bryan, I'm trying to make some money here and sell these prints and whatnot, so that I can save money and go to college and buy a car and do all those things, and these folks, they came to me and they want me to essentially give it away for free. How do I handle this? What is the right thing to do? And without skipping a beat, she said, never say no. She said, do something. Do you may not be able to give them original drawing or an original painting, but maybe a print or maybe some, a small, postcard or something with the art on it. But do something. It's good for your soul. It's good for your company, meaning my brand and my studio, and it's good for your community. And so for 31 years now, I am very proud to say that we've taken that advice and we have raised nearly $1 million in the 31 years, which is, I know it doesn't sound like a lot of money right now, 31 years, $1 million, but for an artist, that's a lot of money to raise for different charities, really around the world now. I mean, we have requests from, all over for help, and we're always so glad to do it. And it's something that I really pride Kevin John Studios on is our willingness to always be there and to help different charitable concerns. I moved to Florida 6 years ago, and I live on a barrier island out on the east coast of Florida, a little beach town. And not too far from my house here, I met a friend who owns a parrot sanctuary. And what this is because we're in a tropical climate here, there's a lot of beautiful tropical birds, mainly parrots that people will, they live here. And some were released after being pets. Some were born here in the wild. And I think they're easy targets for mischief and harm, I think, because they're such a beautiful bird. So they end up getting injured or needing help. And this gentleman that I know, his name is Dan, I call him Captain Dan, he really took this effort upon his shoulders and to care for these birds. And he has this beautiful property set up, and it's a sanctuary, and there's these gorgeous, huge outdoor cages, and he feeds them every day and cares for them. And it's a wonderful environment. He encourages people to come and visit the sanctuary. It's called Galleon Treasures Parrot Sanctuary. And I visited him not too long ago as they moved to a new location and expanded even more. And, I said to him, I said, Dan, what do you need? What can I do to help? I said, is it food? I said, what's your biggest cost every month or every week? And he said, well, it's food. He said, food is really the thing that we need more than anything. And I said, well, tell me what that looks like. He said, well, it's a bag of food a day, or a bag of food a week, basically. And it's about $45-50 a week for food. And that's what we really need more than anything. And I said, all right. And I made the commitment to him right then that what we were going to do through Kevin John Studios is offer a different print every week at a really low price. We price them right around $29 to $39. So right in that sweet spot area for, I guess, pocket money, you don't have to think about it. And there's a special dedicated page on my website, kevinjohn.com, kevin-john.com. And it's for Feed the Birds. And every print that is sold that week from that page, all that money, 100% of that money goes to help feed the birds, quite literally. I chose that title, and it all just seemed right for me because of my love for all things Walt Disney, the man. He had this tremendous philosophy about humanity and about, families and caring for people and making the world a better place, more enjoyable through his art forms. And I also think that that Walt was the type of guy that saw beauty in all cultures and all things, no matter how different they were. he celebrated those things in his films. He celebrated those things in his music. And speaking of music, one of his favorite songs was "Feed the Birds" from the Mary Poppins film. He would, at the end of a long day, walk down to the office of, where the music was created, and the Sherman Brothers might be there, and he would walk over to the piano and ask them to play the song, and that's all he would say, just play it for me. And they would play that beautiful song of "Feed the Birds" with its wonderful message. And the story goes, Walt would then gaze out of the window there onto his studio, and all of this that he has built, and all the wonders that he had in his head for what he was going to do for, the people of the world to be able to enjoy life just that much more through his art forms. So it made sense to me to call this effort "Feed the Birds," and it's something that we here at Kevin John Studios are very, very proud of. I encourage you to please check in once a week on the website on that Feed the Birds page, and you might just see a piece of art that week pop up that you like, that you can get for a really good price, and know that you're helping the effort along as well. And I know the folks at Galleon Treasures are extremely grateful for everything that comes down from you all, and it's just one small way that we can use the art to not only better the world, but give you something to brighten your home as well along the way. So I encourage you to go to, again, kevinjohn.com, kevin-john.com, and check out the Feed the Birds page and read the story and help us out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're doing that, and listeners out there, I know there's a lot of animal lovers out there, and it's a good thing to do. It's it really means a lot when someone like Kevin John will take his time and will do something really out of the goodness of his heart for something that he truly cares about, and is giving you the opportunity to own a little piece of magic, a little part of Kevin John that's a little piece of magic. So
thank you.
I love the idea that it came, you remember from high school what your teacher told you, and that you brought the philanthropy full circle and going ahead. So if we can go back there for a second, I'm just curious, you started in high school. How did you get the love of art? How did this whole thing really start for you?
Oh, that's another good question. It's art, having a talent, an artistic talent, creative talent, and I don't care what that is. It could be, writing music, singing music, poetry, writing books, being a chef, for instance, being an athlete. All of these talent-driven professions, it's as much a curse as it is a blessing, because you're gifted with this very early in life. Most of us recognize it early in life that we're a little bit different than the other folks around us, in that we can create these things out of nothing. You take a couple of raw materials and you create these beautiful things that make people happy. And it was just always part of me. It was not anything that I thought of as a career. It was not anything that I thought of other than, it was just something I really enjoyed to do. This is going way back. This is 5-6-year-old Kevin John. And, for whatever reason, I liked to replicate on paper the things that I really enjoyed in life. And at the time, it was Batman and dinosaurs. So I can remember my first attempt at drawing a human was Batman, and I was about 5 years old, and I remember what the drawing looks like. I remember it like it was yesterday. Changed my life. I mean, that was one of those seminal moments in your life that you just never forget. And I fell in love with it immediately because I realized that I could do something that other people couldn't.
Now, aren't you also a little bit colorblind as well?
I am. That's actually
that's fascinating.
Thanks for knowing that. Yeah, I have some pretty strong color deficiencies, which I really didn't realize until I got into high school, and the challenges of the art classes got more intense, and we were learning now not only to draw, but we were learning to paint, and when you paint, you have to see the color within the color.
Right.
If you're painting a person with a blue sweater, you just don't squeeze out a tube of blue paint and spread it across, and there's a sweater. There are many subtle other colors within that blue. Sometimes they're purple, sometimes they're reds, sometimes they're whites that create the shadows and the folds and the textures of that sweater. And I'm not able to recognize most of those subtle differences. I just can't see them.
Is that what brought Kevin John Purple to being born?
It kind of that's a mistake that came way later. I for the most part, when I was in high school and realized that I wanted to do this as a career, I kind of grabbed on to what I did best, and that was draw in black and white. So I didn't have to worry about the color. I didn't have that as a tool in my box to wow people with. I couldn't wow people with color, but I could really draw the heck out of anything that I wanted to, with pretty decent accuracy. So I stayed in that lane. I started selling my work professionally when I was a senior in high school, and never stopped. That carried on until my mid-30s, and I was approached at the time. I was doing a lot of sports art. For about 25 years there, I created action portraiture for pro athletes and the teams. So it was commissioned by the athletes. It was commissioned by the teams for their personal use, their consumption. And ESPN approached us, my agent and I, right around 2003, and they wanted me to create these pieces of art on camera at major sporting events like Super Bowl. And we were thrilled. We were going to get camera time, global camera time. The gig was a great contract for me. However, they wanted color because they wanted it would pop more on camera.
Right.
So I had to quickly teach myself how to paint and how to see color where I couldn't.
Oh, wow.
So over those next 5 years, I really worked, night and day on trying to perfect a painting style that could be acceptable, on a national stage. And over that time period, I think I had developed a style that worked for me and that people really seemed to love. And that's how Disney found me, I got the call from Disney, and I didn't think my painting at that point was up to the standard of a Walt Disney Company. I really didn't. It wasn't on my radar I didn't apply, I didn't submit. I had built my brand to national prominence, and did some good things in communities when I was, asked, and we put on a really good show, I think, and we were selling a lot of art, and I think that's what brought me to Disney's door, and that's what prompted the phone calls from them, and they offered me a contract to create art in my style that was really based on the theme parks. As you well know, Disney has tremendous character artists. I'm not a character artist, but what Disney has charged me with is the honor of rendering Walt's attractions and the attractions of these amazing Imagineers and this amazing company, these attractions that we love at Walt Disney World and at Disneyland, I get to render them in paintings, and then people get to buy those paintings and the prints and the giclées at the parks and take them home and remember those park experiences that we all love so much through my artwork. So a greater honor I have not had. It really, I can't even say it's a dream come true, guys, because I never honestly dreamt that Kevin John was a fit for Disney. You know, it was just so big. It was, I mean, name an artist that wouldn't want to work for Disney.
Right.
I mean, I just, you know,
it just fell into place for you.
Yeah, you know, I think, guys, if I played football in high school, and I coached high school football, and one of my football coaches, when I played, you know, he had a saying that, you know, no one, we may not be the most talented, we may not be the biggest, we may not be the fastest team, but we're going to outwork everybody. And there's no substitute for hard work.
Nope.
And I've really used that philosophy with my company over the last 31 years. I'm not the most talented. I'm certainly not the most creative, but darn it, I am, when tasked with something, I am going to go after it with everything I have, and it is, you know, it's my life. You know, my company, what I do, this is all that I do. This is my life, and it has paid rewards for me. So I have to say that hard work is the thing that just, you know, really overcomes most obstacles. So,
well, two of my favorite pieces of work that you have done is the Topps baseball cards, which
thank you.
I absolutely love those. I wish I still had those, but I fled in my basement and they're now destroyed.
Oh my gosh!
And the other one is I was getting for my son. And the other thing is the Destination Epcot print that you did with the wood boards and the monorail on the top and the wine glasses. I absolutely love that. It's one of those things I wish I would have had. I wish I would have picked up and had framed, because it's distinctly your style, but it fits in the motif. It's got a to me it's got a almost seaside feel to it. And I love that. Absolutely love that.
Thank you. Well, you are in luck in the regard that piece has not premiered yet.
Right. Oh, it hasn't.
It has not premiered.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If for the folks that do follow me on social media, I do, when I'm working on projects, the ones that I am allowed to show as I'm working on them, I show the whole process from the early concept sketches to the final painting, and that's a real special piece to me. It is it has been chosen as the signature art for the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival for this year. I'm honored at that. It's called Eat, Drink, Music, Magic, Repeat. And I really think that it in one vision, it really kind of explains all that the Wine and Food Festival at Epcot is.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's just.
So how I was just curious, how did you come up with that? I mean, it's got to be.
Thanks for asking. It was that's a piece that was at about 2 years in development. It was something that I wanted to do, and so every time that I was over at Epcot, I would, kind of, it's that funny thing that artists do. You hold up your fingers like two L's, and what that is we're creating a compositional space within those brackets of your fingers, and I'm looking at different angles and how would I say all of that that I want to say, if I were to describe visually what Epcot's Festival of the Food and Wine Festival is to people, how would I say it visually? So I started, sketching out these concepts 2 years ago, and they went through revision after revision after revision. And finally, when I was at the Festival of the Arts at Epcot this last year, I was doing a series of signings, and I had some downtime, and I just kind of walked around and saw a monorail coming around at a great angle, and took out my phone, took a picture of it really quick, and then I look over and there are these gorgeous, 300-foot palm trees, towering up into the sky, and I'm like, yeah, this needs to be part of it. And one of the things that I really love artistically to look at are the old travel posters of the golden age of travel,
they're great.
30s, the 40s, the 50s, when it was, when air travel and rail travel was at its real height, they did these amazing travel posters for different points of interest in cities and destinations around the country, and they were to advertise going to these places, and I really wanted that travel poster flavor with a Kevin John twist to it as this piece, and I really think that it's going to establish a brand new style within my own Kevin John style for pieces moving forward. I mean, we're going to pitch this concept to food and wine festivals all over the country. I mean, we've already begun talking with several of them, and there's big ones in Los Angeles and Colorado, and we want to kind of do this with those different festivals all over the country. I think it would be a gag. I mean, just really, really a great gig and a lot of fun, and being able to represent these different communities, in art and their festival, and to be able to celebrate those people and their communities and the festival with this art. I think it would be fantastic. So I am over the hill excited that the piece premieres on the 30th here, 30th of August, at the kickoff of Food and Wine, and I'm going to be there to autograph the prints for people. I have about 30 different signings that are scheduled throughout the entire festival. You'll be able to, as soon as Disney announces it, and they'll announce it probably right before the festival. So I'm expecting the official announcement to come maybe Monday or Tuesday of the week, right before the festival. And then I'll be able to post the actual signing dates and everything, and times and locations on my website. So again, you'll be able to follow there and come out and see me and collect some art and get this piece. I think they're going to go fast. There's only 95 of frames in place. Wow. So I expect this to be a very, very popular piece, and I'm looking forward to, again, it's kind of like family reunion when you see all these folks that collect your work and they follow you here on social media and everything, and when I do the signings at Disney, the ones that are in town or that come in town for that event, it's always wonderful to meet those folks and to be able to spend some time with them and everything. It's pretty remarkable. So thanks for asking about that piece. I'm really excited about it.
I had no idea that was coming out, because I could have sworn it was. I've seen it a lot lately, and I guess that's why, because I guess people have been sharing it, and they're like, wow, I wish I could have gotten it. I'm thinking that's been out for a long time. I'm like, oh man, I got to get that piece. But that's a great piece.
It is a very creating this art for Disney is obviously awesome, but it does take a long time. There's a piece that I'm doing that will premiere just after the first of the year, and it's the Tower of Terror 25th anniversary piece. Believe it, in 19 already, we're going to be celebrating 25 years for the tower. And so I'm creating an exterior Tower of Terror painting, and I am going to put you, the viewer, at the gates of the tower on the night, October 31st, 1939, the night of the Halloween gala, where the tragedy took place, as the story goes, and you're going to be walking up that path, lit by pumpkins and ready to celebrate Halloween at the Hollywood Tower Hotel. That piece I have been working on, concepting, for probably 4 years.
Wow.
It's just it's just one of those things where it takes a lot of time to develop, and that's also why the prices of the originals are what they are. I mean,
right.
These originals will be upwards of $8,000-9,000 for these pieces, but it's because of all the time that goes into just the development of the concepts and the paintings and everything. So
how long does it take? I mean, it takes 4 years, obviously, as you said, for this, but going back and forth. So you come up with the concept, and you have free reign, I take it, to do what you want.
Yeah, Disney is really, really good to me in that I'm kind of like the only guy that's really doing park art that's not stylized or has character involvement or anything. I'm pretty much the only one that is, creating art from the park point of view, park themes that's realism, and so they've really given me free reign to, hey, you come up with some, the ideas and the concepts, and so I do a written concept first, and I send that over, and they say, oh yeah, that sounds like an interesting idea. Or for instance, when I sent them the idea about the Tower of Terror, they're like, well, the 25th anniversary is in 2019, so that would fit. And it's also kind of slowly becoming the icon of that park now.
Right.
And so they said, go ahead and, show us some sketches. So then I get really down and dirty into taking all those concepts and everything that I've been working on, and I develop into kind of a color concept painting. So it's not a real good painting, but it kind of lays it all out, lets them kind of understand visually what I want this thing to look like. Then once that goes through the approval of the concept itself and the visual concept, then it goes through Disney Legal. So they check it, make sure that everything is copacetic, and then I'm given the thumbs up to go ahead and create the final painting, which that will usually take about 3 to 4 weeks. You're looking at 150 hours in a painting like that.
And how much time would you spend at the studios? I mean, granted, you could see it from pictures, but how much time did you spend at the studios just looking at the Hollywood Tower Hotel and trying to see some of the nuances that you might not necessarily see, from a photo? You spend much time on that?
Absolutely. A lot. It's difficult to go on an attraction without I can't. And I knew I was going to do this to myself. I did this with sports. I loved sports, and I loved to go and watch football or coach football, especially. And then I worked in it. I worked in sports from an artistic standpoint. So every time I look at athletes, I'm picturing them as paintings. I'm looking at events and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I need to be involved with that tournament next year. Or I need to do a commemorative painting for that championship or whatever. Disney now is the same thing. When we go to the parks even casually to enjoy an evening walking around and eating some food or whatever, I'm looking at everything as a potential project, and it really it's kind of a it's one of those blessings and curses all at the same time. So from the very first time I stepped on that attraction in 1998, I saw it as, my God, what an amazing piece of art this is. I mean, they really are sculptures. They're living, breathing sculptures to begin with. And for me to just be able to replicate that in two-dimensional art is so much fun. So I guess to answer your question, how much time do you spend? Dedicated time where I just said, okay, tonight we're going into the park and we're going to really spend 2 hours walking around the tower, and we're going to look at all different angles. I mean, probably a week, probably 30, 40 hours just spent there, immersing yourself in bathing in the textures and the changing colors and all in the story. I'm telling story through my paintings to evoke some sort of an emotion, and that just doesn't happen without, I think, a lot of this creative process going on.
Right.
Yeah. It's also a tremendous responsibility when you think about it. I'm not creating the tower. I'm not creating the Haunted Mansion. I'm not creating Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, what I'm doing is your interpretation of it.
I'm representing it to the world.
Right. For
Walt's company. I mean, it's a pretty daunting responsibility, It's to be an ambassador or caretaker of these attractions and these environments that we love so much. My gosh, it's just again, I sit here and I talk about it, but it's like I'm talking about another person. I never imagined that the kid with the crayons in the back of the classroom, would be, blessed with such an honor.
Well, I mean, I can hear it in your voice. I can hear how much you appreciate that people like your work, but I also hear it in your voice that you appreciate the whole what's the word? I don't want to say ordeal. The whole process of going through the development of your artwork. It's like you're becoming. It seems like it's like you become the artwork. It's like you're merging with your artwork to perfection to make this visual interpretation come out absolutely perfect. And it's, I don't know, you can just feel that the way you're talking and how much you love and appreciate the entire thing.
Wow, that's a huge compliment. Thank you. And that's very, and it's spot on. I mean, I'm literally pointing at you and pointing at my nose at the same time. I mean, spot on. You do. I describe it as bathing in it. When I'm doing, for instance, all the concepting and when I do the final paint on this Tower of Terror piece, I will have the music, the melodic melodies playing, background music in my studio, or I'll watch that amazing Steve Guttenberg Tower of Terror film, over and over and over. I bathe in the environment and the story and everything to best translate that to the fans. And I also try with my Disney art to not be so, I don't want to be cliche. For instance, my first painting for Disney, they said, you have free reign, do whatever you want, give us some concepts. And this is almost 6 years ago now. And I sent in the concept of the Hatbox Ghost. And I can't tell you how many weird looks I got and questions from everyone that I told, like, what is a Hatbox Ghost? If you rewind the clock, Hattie was still that mythic figure at this point. He was only known to us Haunted Mansion heads, the deep cut people, the B-side, of that record album, fourth cut in, the song that nobody else knows. That was Hatbox Ghost. And I saw a Mark Davis illustration of the Hatbox Ghost in a book and record when I was in 3rd grade, and I bought it at Disneyland when we went to visit. Now, I went in the mansion, And then on the way home, I'm looking at this book and record and these wonderfully illustrated pages. And I see this figure that grabbed a hold of me and stopped me cold. There was just something so ghoulish about him. And I didn't remember seeing him in the mansion. But, you know, we only went through once. And I'm in 3rd grade. And I'm trying to convince my eyes that those ghosts there that are dancing, there are no strings, it's not a puppet. You can see through it, so it's not really there. How did Walt pull this off? Clearly I've seen the most amazing things my 3rd grade mind could handle at the time at this park in general. And now I'm being told that these are ghosts, and I believe it. And I keep saying to my dad, you know, how did they do this? Because my eyes are deceiving me. So I didn't remember seeing the Hatbox Ghost, but I could not take my eyes off of this drawing. And then I got home and listened to the book, and they talked about this Hatbox Ghost who his head would disappear off of his shoulders and then appear in the hat box that he was holding as the bride's heart beat. For every beat, the head would appear and then disappear. And I'm like, that's awesome and ghoulish, and it was like the best slice of pizza I've ever had. So that's what I wanted to do, and I got to dig into Disney archives and find the old photography, and I even was able to sketch from the actual mold of the headpiece, and this old black and white photography from inside Disney Studios before he was put in the mansion for that very short time, that first week that they were open, and learned everything I could about Hatbox and created this painting. Disney loved it. It's a hit in the parks. It still sells. It's my top seller 5 years later. And now Hattie is everywhere. Everyone knows who Hattie is now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of pride myself on not doing the hitchhiking ghosts. You know, I didn't go for the easy get on any of these things that I try to interpret visually. I want to cause the viewer to look at the subject a little bit different than everything else. It's why I don't put hidden Mickeys in my paintings. Everyone does that. You know,
I was going to ask you why you didn't.
Yeah.
I was curious.
Yeah, when I do signings at Disney, people will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, I saw the hidden Mickeys that you put in," and I just, I nod and smile and, "Oh yeah, well, where did you find it?" And then they'll show me 3 drops of paint somewhere that happened to land the right way, and it looks like a hidden Mickey, and it's not. But I say, "Well, that's great. You found it," and it's funny. The Epcot food and wine art has 3 blatant hidden Mickeys in it, and they were completely unintentional. It legit did not happen on purpose. And again, I want to cause something different in them. Than I want you to look at that attraction differently. I want you to hear a little bit of a different story than you normally do when you have a discussion about these attractions that we love so much.
So it's funny because when you're talking about listening to music, looking at the Don't Try to Hide, or even the Cinderella Castle, there's music that comes into my mind.
Oh gosh!
Just watching them.
Oh gosh!
Because it's so different. It's the muted colors. It's just so where you have to pay attention, and it's like you're looking at it for so long. It's like you start humming along, like the Cursed Pirate. It's like, And while you're looking at it,
thank you, man. I'll tell you, boy, you've got great insight, man. Wow. Yeah, I'm flattered. Again, these are some of the greatest things that I could hear, because these are the things, as I, toil away here in pain about creating these pieces. These are the reactions. I put myself in the place before I was a Disney artist, when I would travel from Pennsylvania and save for a year to come here for 10 days, and just, you wanted to take it all home with you, but you can't, and you love, it's the music and the smells and the atmosphere and the people and the hum and the visual delights. You want to take that all with you, but there's no possible way. We try with t-shirts and coffee mugs and all of that. So when Disney said to me, we're going to give you the opportunity to give those people that experience in their homes, I'm like, hell yes, that's exactly what we need. We need this, we need this. It's a way to enjoy those experiences, to hear that music, to feel that, to smell those scents that are just, hand in hand with the water in the Pirates of the Caribbean has that certain smell to it, and it's like coming home, and if I'm able to give that to people through these paintings, my gosh, I'm a little farther along than what I thought. So thank you.
Out of curiosity, if you can go back to the Hatbox Ghost, is there anything that you would change at all, or would you change the style? Since it's been several years since you've worked on that.
100%.
Really? Yeah.
I love that. But that is not uncommon with every painting that I've done, with every drawing that I've done.
So you're never satisfied with how it
I'm never satisfied. The more distance that I get away from it, the more unsatisfied that I am, because my work has come so far in that period of time. There are artists out there that I know that, like Shag, for instance. Shag has a gorgeous style. It is delightful to look at, but his style is identical today as it was 10 years ago. You cannot tell a Shag painting from today or 10 years ago. He found his path, and he stays in that path. And why wouldn't he? I mean, the guy is amazing. His work is fantastic. But for me, I'm constantly searching, constantly trying to improve the work. I don't ever think I'll ever find my style, so to speak, because I'm always inspired to kick it up a notch. So with Hattie, the style that I used with him was, I brought over from my sports art, which was, I'll describe it as the dripping torso, where, I really detail the upper body, the head, the hands, the arms, and the top part of the torso of a figure. And then from a compositional standpoint, to how do we end this story? Do I continue all the way to the feet? Well, let's make it interesting. Let's just drip the paint down. And I drip the background then a little bit. So I chose that style for Hattie and a few other paintings that I did, but it lends itself more to the dark Disney pieces. My Mansion Bride has that. My Bellhop from the Tower of Terror has that. However, when I did the painting of the Tiki Room, the dripping wasn't working. That was more of it was a different experience visually. So for Hattie, I think that I would probably do him full body next time around, I should say. I think that I would articulate him more. The early direction from Disney was to stay as accurate to the audio animatronics as I could. And that worked really well with Hattie because he's such a fantastical figure. So I stayed right there in that lane. I then, when I created the 45th anniversary mansion piece that was the Gravedigger, I submitted very realistic audio animatronic renderings of that Gravedigger. And it came off looking like a poorly drawn human, you know, because to us that know the thing, it reads as an audio animatronic, but it's, you know, the proportions aren't exactly right. It looked like I had drawn a human really poorly. So they pulled me off of that and they said, let's try a more realistic rendering. So I did that. I turned him into a human, and it was, it was a little too dark, they thought. And I agreed. There's not a easy way to show terror in a human's face without really evoking that feeling of terror.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So I backed off of that, and I asked them to give me one more shot. And what I did was kind of a crossover between the two. I essentially created my own animated character of that caretaker. And they loved it. They approved it, stamped it, and we ran with it. So I think if I were to revisit Hattie, I would articulate him a little bit more. I would get a little more creative with his pose, his stance. And I probably would put him in the attic with all the cobwebs and the lighting and the accoutrement, you know, that you would find in the attic around him. I'll do that painting again. It'll probably be like a 10-year anniversary piece for Kevin John as a Disney artist.
Right.
So because I'm going to want to repeat that the right way. So not that it's a bad piece. It's just that, you know, as tasked with that again, I would approach it completely differently.
So you talk about your evolution and how you progress and go. And I know when people come for signings, there's kids who come by, want to show you things. What advice do you give them? What do you talk to them about?
Oh wow. You know, my message to young artists is a pretty simple one, and that is, first get a sketchbook and take it everywhere. And instead of picking up your phone and checking your texts or your Facebook, pick up that sketchbook and a pen or a pencil and look up. And the first thing that you see, I don't care what it is, I don't care if it's a corner of a room, sketch it. Sketch, draw constantly. It's the only way you're going to get better. The other thing that I always tell people, whether they're a young artist or an aspiring adult artist, they often ask me about, you know, how do they become a Disney artist? And I say, well, develop your own thing. Build your brand to where Disney can't ignore you. Sell enough artwork in the marketplace that they want a piece of it. Yet it cannot be Disney art because they own that.
Right.
Disney owns that IP. You don't want to try and get a job with Disney by showing them paintings or drawings that you've done of their IP, because it's theft. Develop your own thing and become good enough. Become a well-rounded artist, performer, creative person. And then lastly, especially the little ones, I hand them a box of Kevin John crayons. I often refer to myself as, you know, I'm nothing special. I'm still that third grade kid sitting in the back of the class with a box of crayons, drawing instead of doing the schoolwork that I was supposed to be doing. And there's nothing like a fresh box of crayons with fresh tips on all of them, you know. And so I have my own branded crayons with my logo and my name on it and everything, and we give these out to young artists and kids that we'll run into at the park for no other reason that just want to create a little magic. And my directive to them is two. It says it right on the box of crayons. It says, you always want to dream big. Always dream big. Don't ever think anything is too big to achieve. I don't care what that dream is. And then my advice to them is never stay in the lines when you're coloring. How many times were we told that you got to stay in the lines? And that's how our art projects were graded when we were young.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's how society wants us to be. It more so now than ever. I mean, look at what's happening politically in this country. We're all supposed to walk in lockstep.
That's true.
And follow the rules and be a certain type of individual, and people that don't look or act like us are different and wrong and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell these little kids, you take these crayons and you grab that coloring book and you color all over it. You color outside lines, and be that way with every aspect of your life. If there's a style of hair that you want to wear that's different, do it, rock it, and love it. If you want to be a certain type of person, you be that individual. Be true to yourself. Be who you are. Love yourself. And through being yourself and loving who you are and what you do, you will then pass that along to other people. People will want to be around you, and that love and that kindness and those good feelings and the positivity is spread that way. And that's how you heal problems, and that's how you heal the country. And I think more kids need to color outside the lines and realize that that's a safe place to play and that's a good place to be, because great things are created by people that color outside the lines. The Bill Gates of the world,
Yeah.
That's who you want to be in your circle. Those are the type of people that you should want to be in your community. The people that are thinking differently and striving for something better for everyone, not just for a segment of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, Kevin John, everybody that comes into the Tiki Hut gets to answer the same 5 questions. We call it the Tiki Lightning Round.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's see. Number 1, your favorite Disney character.
Headless Horseman.
Your favorite snack.
Oh, man. Dude, I am no carb, no sugar. And it's killing me.
Oh, man.
It's fine. I am good on a daily basis. It's awesome. But we went to the parks last night, and I broke down. I had to have some of those almonds, those like sugared almonds that they make.
Yeah.
Adventureland. Yeah, favorite snack in the park, sugared almonds.
Favorite Disney movie.
Oh, wow. I gotta say, don't laugh. I gotta say, the Tower of Terror. I love that. I love it. Yeah, and see, you laugh at me. They always laugh when I say that. I love the film. I love it.
Somebody has to.
Someone has to, and I'm the one. I bought all the DVDs.
You bought them all.
I'm waiting for it to come out on Blu-ray. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Probably not. But
No.
you never know.
You never know. Uncle Buzzy.
Dream big. Favorite Disney attraction.
Oh, Tower of Terror 1A, Haunted Mansion 1B. I can't separate the two. I've never been able to.
Okay, fair enough. Your favorite your favorite theme park memory.
Oh, gosh. Oh, wow. Okay, well, It's a most recent. It's a most recent one. 6 years ago, I got the call from Disney. I signed my contract, and we went to the park. We went to the Magic Kingdom later that day. And my girlfriend took me over to the town hall. And we waited in line, and when we got up to the guest relations person, she said, we want a couple of buttons. And the guest relations person said, great, what are you celebrating today? And she told her to write on it my name, and underneath it, it said, Disney's newest artist. And I wore that. I'm sorry, guys. I wore that all day. And she had one that said, Disney artist girlfriend. And and so there we were in Walt's Park. You know, I had Walt from the time that I was very, 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 very young. Was always someone that I used as a template. And again, to have this opportunity to forever be part of the family now, it's just, you know, that's my favorite memory. There's a lot, but that's my
Dreams
favorite.
do come true. You know, that's
Certainly do.
That's the essence of talking with you tonight. That's the biggest thing that you could take away from it, is that you found something you love, you found something that you're good at, and you were able to make a career out of it. Not only make a career out of it, but you have thousands and thousands of people who have purchased your work, who love your work, and you know, the Big Mouse loves it, and I'm sure there's no doubt that Walt would have loved it. And you know, you could take that to the bank and just know it's the same thing as been doing this podcast for almost 5 years. How many people love and appreciate that we're doing it every week?
Yes.
And you're giving something of yourself and sharing it with people, especially with the story that you just told, how much it means to you on so many different levels. That's what you have to take away from it. It's the human touch, the human aspect of the whole thing.
It's if I have a friend that I went to high school with. He is an incredibly talented individual. He's a Grammy Award-winning singer. His name is Pat Monahan. He's the lead singer for the group Train. Yep. And I heard Pat say not too long ago on a podcast that he does, actually, about how young musicians are always coming up to him and saying, how do I do what you do? How do I become famous? I want to become famous. I want to be a rock star. And I think that's the wrong approach. And Pat had talked about that as well, about being that's the wrong reason to go into this.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It can be a component, wealth, popularity, success, and all that comes with it. But when it all boils down to it, that can't be the reason why you do this.
Right.
There's got to be greater reason. And I think for, you know, when I got into my mid-30s, I'm almost 50 now. When I got into my mid-30s, I realized that there was a greater purpose for my art than just becoming a successful, popular artist and selling lots of work.
Right.
And only then did this truly accelerate and become profitable in my soul, in you know, to me on a human level, not a bank account or an autograph signing.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
So why don't you tell all our listeners once again, you know, plug yourself, tell them, you know, where they can find you, and then we'll let you go.
Thank you. Well, first of all, you know, allow me to thank you for having me on, and the listeners for, you know, bearing with me through my long-winded stories. I'm a storyteller, you know, visually and apparently with my mouth as well. So, if you were here, you'd see my hands are flailing as well all the time. So thank you for having me on. This is a tremendous honor. Thank you. Thank you to those who collect and follow my art. You can find my Disney art at Walt Disney World or Disneyland. Ask for it by name, Kevin John Art. You can also go to my website, kevinjohn.com, kevin-john.com. And from there, there's explore it. There's landing pages for my social media. You can sign up for my newsletter, my blog. You can buy art. You can link to see the Disney art. There's a full page dedicated to that where you can purchase Disney art even if you're not in the parks. We have a tremendous program going on because you can't buy my Disney art online. It's only the wonderful thing that they do with my art is they're park exclusives. So only the folks that come to the parks can collect it. Well, there's a lot of folks that don't come to the parks or that can't get to the parks before the stuff sells out. So we have these wonderful Kevin John approved personal shoppers. You can link to them right on my main page as well, and they'll go buy the art for you. And what's even better is they have, we meet once a month where I autograph and personalize and do little drawings on the prints and everything for those people, specifically just for those shoppers, so that when you receive your Kevin John art, even though you can't get to the parks, it's got a little special extra magic with it.
That's great.
So it's all right there, kevinjohn.com, and follow my Facebook right from there, because I live there every day. We do giveaways and contests, and it's really a wonderful community of like-minded people, just a bunch of folks that are a little kooky, a little weird. We all love this Disney thing, and it's a nice place on the internet for positivity and good vibes and good art and talk food and horror movies and football and all kinds of good stuff. So that's where I like to meet everybody.
Nice. Thank you, Kevin John, once again for coming on.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Thank you. And I think that's going to do it this week. So, but first, we want to thank our sponsors, Kingdom Strollers. Get your premium stroller and crib rental at kingdomstrollers.com. Let the vacation experts at mousebros.com help plan your next perfect vacation. Don't forget to check out our store at redbubble.com/Tiki Talk Podcast. And you can connect with us on social media. Find us at Facebook at Enchanted Tiki Talk, Instagram and Twitter at Tiki Talk Podcast. You can also leave us a message on the Tiki Talk hotline, 256-4MY-TIKI. That's 256-469-8454. And if you enjoy the show, please take the time to rate us on iTunes. You can find me on Twitter at 1 Minute Disney Dream. That's 1MIN Disney Dream. MouseRoyalVacations.com and MousePros.com.
And you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Dole Whip Daily.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, DisneyDiary.com. Disney Diary, and don't forget to look at and check out the latest news and views at DisneyDiary.com.
And that's going to be it. Alan, take it away.
Thanks for listening this week. For Sean and Keith, I'm Alan, and this has been Enchanted Tiki Talk. Aloha.
So, I know you like horror. The one thing I wanted to ask you, which I didn't do on the show, was if you could do a Stranger Things from Netflix, what kind of piece would you do? I was just curiosity.
Wow. I did a sketch of 11, with that, her hair chopped and that little blood coming out of her nose. It was a pretty striking. But I think because I I lived there with those kids so much. That was the 80s. That's when we, I was their age in the 80s, and so it would probably have to be a very 80s centric piece. I think I'd like to do kind of like a Back to the Future type of poster idea, maybe with them on their bicycles instead of the DeLorean or something like that.
Enchanted Tiki Talk has been brought to you by mousepros.com. Let us plan your perfect Disney vacation. And MickeyMonthly.com, where you can get the park sent directly to you. And by KingdomStrollers.com for all your premium stroller and crib rental needs. For all of us here, I'm David Benter. Thanks for listening to Enchanted Tiki Talk.